Hey guys, so this video lesson goes over the two-step equations and inequalities study guide. For 6A, this is Unit 3, Part 2. For 7A, this is your Unit 2, Part 2 study guide. So please make sure you have these slides open as this video goes through each of the slides. All right, our first problem here, it is just a two-step equation. So I'm going to draw my line straight down my equal sign. First thing I need to do here is subtract 8.4 from both sides. When I do this, make sure you line up your decimals. Now in a whole number like 13, remember our decimals after our ones, so I need to add a decimal, add a 0. So they're perfectly lined up. Unfortunately, I can't do 0 minus 4, so I need to borrow from that 3, make that a 2. So it becomes a 10. Now 10 minus 4 I can do to get 6. 2 minus 8 I cannot do. I need to borrow from my 1 to make it a 12. So 12 minus 8 would give me 4. 0 minus 0 is 0. So drop our decimal straight down. And then on the left-hand side, we're just left with negative 0.2a. Well, when a number and a variable are squished together, multiplication is actually happening in between. So if I'm looking at multiplication, I need to do division in order to isolate my variable. So I'm going to divide by negative 0.2 on both sides. Remember, you keep that negative with your number when you're multiplying or dividing. So off to the side, let's do this multiplication or division. 4.6 goes in your house, 0.2 goes outside, but when we're dividing with decimals, our outside number needs to be a whole number. So remember, slide baby slide, we need to move that decimal over. So our new division problem becomes 46 divided by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times. And drop our 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. And our division is done. So we are left with A equals, our division told us it was 23, but we had a positive divided by a negative, so our answer should be a negative 23 here. So A equals negative 23. All right, next problem, we have negative 2 equals negative 9.7 plus V, all divided by 0.4, sorry. So we need to get rid of that 0.4 before we can touch anything on top. So in order to do that, if I'm looking at division, I'm going to do multiplication, which is my inverse operation. And if I do that on both sides, well, on my right-hand side, that 0.4 goes away, and I'm just left with what was on top. So negative 9.7 plus V gets to come down, bring my equal sign. And then off to the side, well, 2 times 0.4 would just give me 0.8. And then it's a negative 2 and a positive 0.4. So that would be a negative 0.8. Next, in order to isolate the variable, the only thing left to get rid of is that negative 9.7. So since that is a negative, I'm going to add 9.7 to both sides, which on the right-hand side leaves me with my V. Bring down my equal sign. I have a negative 0.8 and a positive 9.7. So remember, adding rules, different signs, subtract, and then keep the sign of the bigger number. So we need to do 9.7 minus 0.8. Well, can't do 7 minus 8. I need to borrow. Make it a 17. 17 minus 8 is 9. 8 minus 0 is 8. Drop my decimal. So V equals 8.9, and that is a positive because my bigger number when I did that subtraction was 9.7. So V equals positive 8.9 here. All right, our third problem, our fourth slide here, has to start with distributing. So I have 2 sets of parentheses that I need to get rid of. On the left-hand side, I need to do negative 3 times positive 2m, and I get negative 6m. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Bring my equal sign. Then on my right-hand side, when I distribute, 3 times negative 2m is negative 6m. 3 times 4 is a positive 12. So looking at this, think back to our variables on both sides, the rules that go with it. If I see that my coefficients are the same and my constants are the same, so negative 6m and negative 6m, and then positive 12, positive 12, since everything matches perfectly, this problem has infinite solutions, which would be our final answer here. No need to solve. As soon as we see everything's identical, we are done. Okay, next one, we also need to distribute first. So negative 3 times 3d is a negative 9d. Negative 3 times negative 4.3, well, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to do some work off to the side. 4.3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. So negative times a negative would be a positive 12.9. Bring down my equal sign. Bring down my negative 15. From here, I'm going to draw my line straight down my equal sign, and I am ready to solve. First thing I need to do, subtract 12.9 from both sides. Remember, line up your decimals. So this is 15.0. Negative 15 minus 12.9. First thing I'm going to do is keep change. So keep negative 15. Change it to a plus sign, which changes it to a negative 12.9. When I do that, on the left side, I'm left with negative 9d. Bring down my equal sign. And then using my adding rules, I have same sign, add, and keep. So it's 15.0. I'm adding 12.9. 0 plus 9 is 9. 5 plus 2 is 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. Drop your decimal straight down. So we get 27.9. Now, final step here, I need to isolate my variable still. That is negative 9 times d, so I need to divide by negative 9 on both sides. So 27.9 goes in your house, 9 goes outside, 9 goes into 2 0 times, 9 goes into 27 3 times. Drop your 9, 9 goes into 9 1 time, but don't forget, shoot your decimal straight up through the roof there. So we're left with d equals, our division told us it was 3.1, however, it was a positive divided by a negative, so it should be a negative 3.1 in our final answer. Alright guys, this next one, there are multiple ways you can do it. I prefer to clear my fraction. You could also just add 8 to both sides and then divide by 2/3, but I like to not work with fractions. So when I'm doing this, I only have one fraction, so I just look at the denominator there, and if I multiply everything by 3, so 2/3 times 3 over 1 is 6 over 3, which just gives me 2, so I'm left with 2k. Bring down my minus sign. 3 times 8 is 24. Bring down my equal sign. 10 times 3 is 30. And now this is a two-step problem that has no fractions in it, which I 100% prefer. Again, there's multiple ways to solve this. If you did not do this the exact way, just check your answer at the end with mine and see that you got the same one. So first things first, I'm going to add 24 to both sides. I'll be left with 2k equals 54. Divide by 2, divide by 2. 54 divided by 2 is 27. So my final answer here is k equals 27. Alright, next one, draw my line. Got to get rid of that 2 first. It's a positive 2, so I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. 8 minus 2 is 6. Bring down my equal sign. And I'm left with t over 4, which is actually t divided by 4. When I do this, if I see division, I'm going to do multiplication to get rid of it. 6 times 4 is 24, and then I'm just left with t. So my final answer here is t equals 24. All right, next one, gotta distribute before we do anything. So negative 3 times 2v is negative 6b. Negative 3 times 1.6, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm gonna do some work off to the side. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Put my decimal. It was a negative times a positive though, so make sure you have minus 4.8. Bring everything else down. Now, looking at this problem, I look at my coefficients first. Both of my coefficients are negative 6v. Okay, so my coefficients are the same. Second thing I look at are my constants. I have a negative 4.8 and a positive 4.8. Those are not the same. Remember, your signs need to be identical as well, and in this case they are not. So same coefficient, different constant. There is no solution to this problem. That's all you need to put, and you are done. All right, next one, distribute first. Once again, now some of you may say, oh wow, this is the exact same problem as the last slide. It is not, so please make sure you still do this one, and I'll show you why. So negative 3 times 2v, negative 6v. Negative 3 times negative 1.6. This gives us a positive 4.8, so that's where it's different. When I bring everything else down, notice when I'm comparing coefficients, both of my coefficients are still negative 6, but this time, when I look at my constants, they are both positive 4.8, so they match perfectly. When everything matches, your coefficients and your constants, this is going to be infinite solutions. So make sure you have that correct. Last slide and this slide are two different problems. All right, next one, draw my line straight down the middle. That is c minus 7 divided by 4 equals 4. So got to get rid of that 4 before I can touch anything on the top. I see division, so I'm going to do multiplication to get rid of it. So on the left, I'm just left with what was on top, c minus 7. Bring down my equal sign. 4 times 4 gives me 16. Last step to isolate my variable, I see minus 7, so I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So my final answer is c equals 23. That is all the time we have left in this part 1 video, so please go back and click part 2 for the remaining questions on this study guide.